Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
And I'm Kyle Clark. Colorado's subpar snowfall isn't just stalling skiing, it's causing concern among farmers.
9 News reporter Shalima Maharaj joins us now after talking with farmers in southwestern Colorado. Shalima.
That's right. For the Wilson family out in Montezuma County, that is close to Cortez, they basically have said that they rely on water, especially for that one crop in particular that brings home about 70% of what they are able to make. And that is, of course, alfalfa.
My tractor payments are $30,000 a year. You've got
and that's for a used tractor.
And that's for a used tractor.
Landon Wilson is a fifth-generation farmer in Pleasant View. He and his dad, Brian, have watched their costs soar over the years.
We grow alfalfa and wheat. Our main source of water is from the snowpack. It's from the mountains.
They're trying to be optimistic, but worried they won't get enough moisture this year for their crops.
The severe drought started with us in 2021.
Alfalfa is their main source of income and one of the most water-intensive crops out there.
So whenever you're having your income cut by 1/3, 2/3, it really does make a difference.
Well, we are currently standing at Aurora Reservoir.
Shawnee Klein has been wading through the numbers so far this year.
This happens to be one of Aurora's 12 reservoirs where we bring in all of our water and we store it for dry years.
Like this one. It's been a long time since Aurora water has seen Colorado's snowpack this low.
The last time we saw anything similar to this in terms of snow drought was in 2002.
The Aurora Reservoir is 97% full, but it's a different story elsewhere.
But if you go up into the mountains to Spinney Mountain Reservoir, that's at 43% full. And if we look at all of our storage across the system, it's at 60% full.
Definitely a snow drought, according to Klein.
We are at such a deficit because it's been such a warm and dry fall and winter that it would take a lot of snow for us to get back to average.
For Landon and his dad, more of this isn't sustainable.
I'm saying 3 to 4 years. And for me, that hurts because my dad's worked so hard to keep the farm running and everything, but at the end of the day, it's Mother Nature that decides whether or not we're going to keep farming.
So now Shawnee Klein tells us that back in late 1998 and early 1999, they saw pretty similar conditions. We're talking about dry conditions outside as well as very little snow. And then during April, that is when they saw significant snowfall, significant enough to make up for the shortfall that they saw earlier on. So at least one hopeful scenario right there. Reporting live, Shalima Maharaj, 9 News.
Kathy Sabin, when you hear the Wilsons talk about it, you know it's not just a one-year thing, right? It was what last year looked like, the year before, and so forth.
It is cumulative. It absolutely is. And we do, in fact, see that there's some reason for optimism as we move into next week. We do see a pattern shift and a chance for snow, not just here in Denver, but possibly in the mountains. In the meantime, welcome into February, our 4th snowiest month on average with about 7.8 inches of snow on average. And as you can see, we've seen very little snowfall for the month or for the season. Temperatures, however, have been relatively mild. We're sitting at 40 in the city, 27 in Greeley, and 36 in Fort Collins. Winds are generally light tonight and will be shifting out of the southwest tomorrow. That will help to push temperatures into the 60s. So other than just a few passing high clouds, a very spring-like weather pattern shaping up in winter. Not a lot of moisture coming in tonight or tomorrow. This above average temperature trend looks to last right into Super Bowl weekend. Temperatures overnight will stay in the mid-30s and be close to 40 at the bus stop. Coming up, much more on the weather changes next week and a chance for snow.
New tonight, the CBI is asking for help finding a missing child they believe is in danger. Max Runner was reported missing this afternoon from McIntosh Academy, southeast of Boulder. He was last seen just before 2 in the afternoon. The 14-year-old has autism. If you think you know where Max is, you're asked to call 911.
Today's show anchor Savannah Guthrie is making a direct plea for her 84-year-old mother's return. She and her family released a new video tonight saying they are aware of reports that a ransom letter was sent to at least 2 media outlets.
We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen.
Nancy Guthrie was reported missing from her home outside of Tucson, Arizona, Sunday. She was last seen the night before when her family dropped her off at home. Investigators believe she was taken. They have not yet identified a suspect or a person of interest in her disappearance. The parents of a teenager who opened fire at Evergreen High School will not face charges. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office made the announcement today. In September, a student shot and injured 2 of his classmates before taking his own life. In the months since, investigators worked to determine how that student got the gun. They say they tried to talk with the shooter's parents, but weren't able to. Investigators eventually learned someone bought the gun in Florida in 1966, and that person is now dead. Last month, an attorney for the parents told investigators the gun belonged to one of the boys' grandparents. The attorney said it was a family heirloom, and it was stored in a locked gun safe the shooter did not have access to. Investigators did a DNA test on the gun, but it did not tie anything to the parents. Today's update officially closes that investigation. Both of the injured students were released from the hospital in October, weeks after that shooting occurred. It's looking like Buc-ee's next giant gas station will not be in Palmer Lake.
Yeah, there's more than a year worth of really contentious debates in town, and it looks like the beaver got its tail whipped. 9 News reporter Ria Jha explains Buc-ee's decision to withdraw its application to build there.
Out here on I-25 near Palmer Lake, a giant Buc-ee sign would be glowing in the distance for miles because of all of this open space. Even though Buc-ee's withdrew their application for this plot of land, I spoke with people on both sides of the controversy who say they're not ready to fully believe that it's truly over.
Because this has been pretty much the one topic for a year and a half.
This plot of land off I-25 near Palmer Lake has been at the center of debate in the town for months.
And I think it's time we paid attention to other things that are important to the town.
Board of Trustees member Roger Mosley says this chapter might be closing.
Well, just today we found out that Buc-ee's has withdrawn their application for annexation into the town.
People who didn't want the giant gas station raised concerns about water use, traffic, and impacts to nearby open space.
When the governor and both of our senators say this is a bad location because they were concerned about the open space just north of here, why that didn't have more effect.
Proponents of the project saw money for the town.
It was attractive because of the tax income that we could get from their retail sales.
I mean, that money alone is so much for a small town like Palmer Lake.
The fight led to recalls, resignations, and deep division in Palmer Lake. Darcy Shaning, a MAGA activist who previously made headlines after sharing private text messages from the town's former mayor during this fight, was also a supporter of the project.
And I believe that the pulling of this petition, this annexation request, is probably just the next step of what they're going to do.
She believes this may not be the end, just a shift in strategy. Mosley has his doubts too.
There's no guarantee either way that they won't come here because they can go to the county.
It wouldn't be the first time. Buc-ee's has previously withdrawn its application during earlier stages of the fight, only to return later. In a statement this time around, Buc-ee's says the decision is about governance challenges and not a loss of the interest in the region, adding it may reconsider under more stable circumstances.
You know, Fountain and Pueblo have both had their councils say, please come here.
Fountain, Pueblo, and Lamar City leaders have raised their hands, all publicly saying they would welcome a Buc-ee's.
It would be a relief.
For now, this land remains empty, but whether Buc-ee's is gone for good is still an open question. In Palmer Lake, Ria Jha, 9 News.
A restaurant in Westminster suddenly shut down last week. The city says they had unpaid taxes.
I feel like we've seen that a bunch recently, right? There was AJ's Pit Barbecue in Denver. There was Raices Brewing in Denver. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez talked with an employee in this most recent situation. Colton?
And Kyle, as you can imagine, the employee told me along with the shock of losing her job comes that concern of when she'll get her final paycheck.
I'm a hospitality ambassador, which is another name for a host. I was always glad to be there, and if I could stay longer, I would be the last one to leave, you know.
Nicole Farnham found that kind of joy at the Macaroni Grill in Westminster until last week when a co-worker delivered the news.
One of my managers texted me to let me know that that the business had been closed.
The city of Westminster said it shut down the restaurant after it failed to pay taxes. The city says it provided 3 written notices, weekly phone calls, and a final 5-day deadline.
Where I think folks get discouraged is when they throw their hands up, where do I even go from here? And so here I do think they have some concrete steps that they can take.
9 News legal analyst Whitney Traylor offering advice for any employee who might be worried about receiving their final paycheck.
The next thing they can do is they can write a written demand to the employer and the written demand for their last paycheck. And the reason you want to do that is because if the employer doesn't actually pay what's owed or they pay the wrong amount, you can recover a number of penalties.
For Nicole, the job is gone, but she's not letting anger take its place.
I have no hard feelings.
She's hoping her former co-workers will find another place where work doesn't feel like work at all.
I'm not in touch with everyone that's working here, but if the community can rally around and say, hey, you know what, we've got a job, let's offer them a job.
Management for the Macaroni Grill tells me that closing a location is never ideal, but they also told me they're calculating those final paychecks before they send them out to staff. Colton Chavez, 9 News.